My name's Matt McCully, also known as Gas.
Hey, if you're not going to work,
My brother Danny, he's also known as the German.
I don't give a if the swing arm comes back the day before it's finished. Can't see what I'm saying.
We are McCully Customs.
you're the one standing around laughing.
Mum, I've had enough of these. Come here before I send them both over this banner out the front.
Welcome to McCully Customs. It hasn't been long since Matt and Danny opened their new custom bike shop on the outskirts of Melbourne, Australia.
We fabricate custom motorcycles and ground up, or if a customer brings in a bike and they want a few little modifications, basically from mild to wild, we can give you whatever you like.
The boys have been making parts for many custom bike shops in Australia for a long time now and have decided to break into the market themselves.
Always had an interest in bikes and always wanted to build my own bike.
They specialize in creative metal design and engineering, with younger brother Danny riding the bike up front.
From a young age, all I did was draw things, build things, try and design new things. That's all I've done my whole life.
Like any good ride, someone has to sit down the back and keep everyone moving.
When we first take on a job, Danny, of course, being who he is, just would like to get in, rip the bike apart and go mad. It's my job to pull the reins on, so hang on, we've got a process to work to.
Since opening the shop, the boys have many half-finished projects on their books. However, one they've built from the ground up is this little beauty. This one was built for Jake King, the Aussie rules footballer. He's known as the push-up king. He's gonna need a good set of arms to spend the weekend riding this McCully Custom.
One of my hobbies that I love doing is riding motorbikes, and 18 months ago got my first brain buster and wanted to build a Harley, and yeah, that was the beginning. As we started to go along, the bike ended up looking better and better, and the boys started throwing a few more ideas up and ended up with a bit of a wow factor in the end, and yeah, I couldn't be happier.
If the McCully boys are gonna make their mark in the custom bike world, they're gonna need a game plan. The weekend Harley rider is their new target market.
Today we're expecting a guy to call in on his 06 LowRider. He's actually going to Sturgis for about a month, which is the biggest Harley party in the world. I think there's around 500,000 Harleys that gather there every year. So the turner on this bike will be reasonably speedy.
I bought a 2006 Dyna LowRider. I rode it home and then pulled it to bits, pulled everything off it. I took the bars off, I bought new bars, I got new pipes, I had it chromed, I had the rear swing arm chromed, then I had a 200 put on the back end. And then I looked around and everybody else has done exactly the same thing with their Harleys. And I'm riding around thinking, I want something different. I heard about McCully Brothers and did a bit of research, and I thought, I'm gonna give these guys a go.
What can we do for you?
Dyna LowRider.
He knows what he wants to keep on the bike, what he wants to change.
That's more than likely a 17 there now.
That's a 17. That's changed from 17 soft tone.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
most of this stuff is you buy from
Off the shelf.
a Harley shop, off the shelf, all the bits and pieces and all the stock little bits. And I want something different. And I want, what I've heard is that you blokes can make it.
We can build a bike for someone from the ground up, including from the frame, the wheels, the swing arm, tanks, guards, you name it. Or if the customer just wants a modified rear guard or a modified set of handlebars, we can do whatever they like.
Customising is making your bike suit you, whatever that might be. It could be tearing it down and making it into a more track-ready bike, or customising can be changing every part on the bike for another part completely, just because you can. The art of a good custom bike, in my opinion, is something that looks great, but can still be ridden as well as, if not better than, it originally was.
I gave the guys a deadline. I gave them a list of the things that I wanted done and left it in their hands. I'm allowed 2 months to have this, if you can do it in 2 months. Get it knocked over.
And when do you
You
leave?
might be able to get it. I leave now.
Steve and his mates organize their own ride to Sturgis every 2 years. They hire Harleys from Eagle Rider. This year, they'll be riding 6 days solid, from Seattle through Montana to Sturgis.
Sturgis is the grand final of the Harley World. It's the big deal, the big event. In the middle of August, there is 500,000 people there with about the same number of bikes.
Where y'all from? Australia? Hey, baby, down under. Right on, man. Welcome to Sturgis, man. That's awesome.
No matter how many times you've been to Sturgis, it's still mind-blowing to see so many Harleys in one spot.
Every major manufacturer of aftermarket parts, plus Harley themselves, plus Victory, soon to be Indian, and there'll be others. Everybody's there, because everybody knows that's the place to go.
Back in Australia, the McCullys start work on Project Dyna.
Me and Matt went over it, we had a good look at it. I thought, all right, what can we do with this? It's a Dyna style bike. Not that many people do dramatic things to these bikes. They pretty much, they'll bling them up, paint job, bit of parts here and there. But seeing it, I thought, we've got to do something different.
Rear wheel, he wants to keep it 200. Keep it 200. The guard.
Yeah.
I know he wants to be able to carry his wife. He wants it short, but still wants to be able to carry his missus, so to make sure it's still solid and sturdy. What about if we machine him up a billet swing arm, something nice?
I'll do that. I'll do it in the drawing.
Maybe recess the number plate and the lights in the back of the guard. We've got to make this thing a little tough. Bling this thing up so it looks like one mean lowrider.
We went through a few concepts, started sketching. Probably had sort of 3 different sketches sort of going, and then we sort of finalised on one, put some finishing touches on it and thought, yeah, all right, now that is a concept.
It looks sick. Yeah, he's going to love that.
For me, you need to be able to draw, to be able to produce a visually good item.
It looks pretty tough, it's got a nice low stance, chunky at the front.
Oh, a big change on what he's brought in there.
It's a funny feeling to leave your bike with someone who you don't really know. I've met Danny and Matt and had a gut feeling that they were good at what they do, but when you've got a lot of time to think about it and you sit there and think, I know what they're doing.
The overall shape and stuff of the bike is what we're after. Once we had decided on that, we emailed it off to Steve.
G'day Steve, how you going?
Good, mate. I'm good. I got your email.
Yeah, what do you think?
Fantastic.
You happy enough with that? We can get it rolling straight away.
If you can get it like that, mate, I'll be stoked.
Just got off the phone to the owner of the bike, Steve. He's having a ball in Sturgis, absolutely stoked with the sketch that we sent him. He's raring to go, he's given us the thumbs up. Go sick, boys.
Sturgis is great, but the riding is fantastic. So we did a lot of riding around America, and every time I was riding, I was thinking, I wonder what my bike is going to look like. When I met Danny and Matt, I had a gut feeling they were okay. And they told me where they had another brother, but I hadn't met Kenny yet.
Well, they try and get me on the coffees and the broom. I don't know if you've seen, Matt's left me, he's made me a signature series broom.
Want one? Want one.
Me and Dan take the out of him. I mean, he probably takes the heart sometimes, but it's all in jest. But he means well.
Hey, Matt, you wanted one? You wanted a coffee? Yeah. Pete, you sure? All right, mate.
Bit of Australian espresso, and we give it a bit of an Italian flavour.
So you do lips around this bum.
One for you. One for you. What's the coffee?
Sugar? Who's on it? Get rid of the evidence, what is it? Getting your garlic.
Enough of the frivolity. Time to get some wheels rolling.
Marnie.
Yeah.
It's Matt from McCully Customs. How you going?
Good, mate.
We're just wondering if you're available for 5 minutes if we pop up and sort out some wheels and sproters with you.
Yeah, with Steve.
Yep.
I'd already been in touch before I left for Sturgis with Marnie from Dragway about getting some wheels, and I had an idea of my own. According to the McCully boys, it wasn't a very good idea.
Our wheels in particular that we've designed up are going to look much classier on this bike. So I've said to her, that, you ain't getting those rims on that bike.
When we went up the dragway, I knew we'd find exactly what we were after.
Morning, Marty.
Yeah, I'd heard about Matt and Danny McCully. I was keen to see their drawings.
We're looking at getting some rims machined for this bike.
Yes.
We're not 100% sold on the design yet.
I had an idea of the wheels I was looking for.
Shane is the key designer and machinist at Dragway. His knowledge and experience for what a bike builder wants will put these wheels on the right track.
They've just got to look racy. Yeah. You know, this bike's got to look like it's going fast when it's standing still.
See, they're too blingy for me, not racy.
Yeah. And they're too narrow.
I like the width sort of here. It might be a little bit extreme.
With Matt having a firm idea of what a fast look wheel should look like, it was always going to take a bit of convincing from Danny to keep with his original sketch of these rims.
Over a couple of hours, went through all different kinds of wheels. It ended up the RF300s with a perfect match for the bike.
I thought the McCully boys would like them. They suited Danny's sketch perfectly.
Little did they know, Dragway already had the wheel that the boys were looking for. Marnie and her team at Dragway are straight onto the design and build. And finally, technology takes control. Dragway are in the elite of custom wheel building. They've been designing and manufacturing rims for cars and motorbikes for the last 40 years. Meanwhile, back at McCully's, it's time to start pulling Steve's bike to bits. Hey. Kenny has turned up to give the boys a hand.
I'd met Matt, met Danny, but I hadn't met Kenny yet.
We're going to be pulling down that LowRider today. So can you do me a favour and everything we pull off it, stuck in one spot.
Without hesitation, Kenny is into the dismantling of Steve's bike. He gets all the good jobs.
Look, I like to put my hand to anything, really. You know, my role there is basically to mediate in a sense, but then come up there and have a good stir, you know, keep everything fairly light-hearted.
I loved it. Oh, this one was all on side until I did it.
There's got to be a balance, which none of them seem to have.
Oh, you're doing standing around laughing. You come up here to help. Anyone to think you're not getting paid or something like that? Enough can help. Yeah, what one are you doing now?
So I'm sort of in the middle there. You've got yin and yang. I'm the om.
Hey, if you're not going to work...
You'd be lost without me, you know it.
Just ask when they talk now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they won't tell you, but there's many occasions where I happen to be calling it up there and they're scratching their heads, and I'll just come up with the most simple type solution because they're that absorbed in what they're looking at, they can't actually see it from another perspective.
Yeah, we'll leave this one with me, and then you go back and start the fabricating on the arse end.
Of which bike?
Steve's one.
Then they'll bitch and carry on, put their little spin on it to alter, what I might have come up with, but hey, that's all right. I'm not seeking glory.
Down until this one's out.
With Matt and Danny so entrenched in this build, they sometimes need lighthearted relief. Their brother Kenny is the ideal target.
The object of me being there is to have them both wanting to punch my head in at the end of the day. And that's when I can walk away and say, yeah, my work here is done.
I had to get a move on and get this front end rolling.
The delivery time of the front end has put a spanner in the works.
The front end's about 2 weeks off. So pretty much we can get everything done. Front end comes, bolted on, should be ready to go.
Front end took its time getting to us, so in that time I really put all my time into the tins on the rear of the bike, starting in on the rear guard.
A big feature on this bike will be the molded tank.
When I'd spoken to the guys on the phone, we discussed potential of a theme style tank which I had no idea really what theme they were going to go for.
We're set on the tank now. We're going to have an aviation style fuel filler cap. We're going to incorporate that look into the bars as well. We're still going to do a little bit of modifications on the tank itself, but we know basically where we're going.
Say that area and that area.
Yep.
And then it'll just slowly just blend down to nothing. So we'll end up just with a fine peak off into nothing.
Okay, so what, these are just more like ribs, just section of bar that you're going to be welding on, or are they going to be plates?
They will be plated. You know the airplane style caps? You're a large cap with the bolt bulges.
Yeah.
Pull up. That'll look cool with this, I reckon.
So is he going for a certain theme?
Go with it and see what he says when he comes in. Yeah.
With the design of the tank etched in Danny's mind, things are well underway.
When I saw the result, I was absolutely over the moon. It's exactly what was in the drawing.
Steve has originally told us he wanted the arse end of the bike to look chunky. We'll get it to look fatter with a guard, a shorter guard that he's told me he wants.
While I was in Sturgis, I was looking at lots and lots of bikes, and I'd seen some great back ends. However, a lot of the guys, the back ends, you could see them trying to handle them, and they're just too big. I'd taken it from a 160 to a 200, and I wanted to keep that, so I made that pretty clear. That's what I wanted.
This metal fabrication on this bike has to be perfect. That's one of the things we're recognised as being one of the best fabricators around. So I had to let Danny have his way with this thing.
So I want to blend a piece of material from this edge back into the guard.
The rear guard must fit in snug and also be able to carry extra weight. Maybe his wife, maybe not.
I reckon see this shape.
Are we going to follow the line of the tyre?
No.
I don't usually tell this to Danny because, he gets a little bit slack sometimes, but he's a fantastic fabricator. Sometimes I'll just leave him alone up there. I won't annoy him until he needs a hand. I'll go up and give him a hand.
Right around. It's going to look odd here and here. So I reckon because of where it ends here, we take it out deeper here.
Even though this bike isn't over the top as far as fabrication, it's got to be special. Every little piece on the fenders, the tanks, the bars, it's got to be perfect.
If we do the LED section, it's going to be a resin section in here. I can make this section blend off somehow into that area, and that'll stiffen this guard even more.
Out of steel?
Out of steel. But we'll keep it very narrow here. We only want to go up like 10 mil max.
On the rear guard of the bike, we started off with a rough shape and get it to a stage where we think, all right, that's it. That's what we're going with. And then from that sort of comes like an overlay. We cut out other pieces of metal to overlay over the top to give it a different dimension. There's usually a hell of a lot of work in doing that, especially when you're doing it in one piece. You're not just attaching pieces of steel here and there and tacking them on. Try and get it all in one piece and mould the whole thing around. Fully weld it, stitch weld it, seam weld basically every part of that guard, and then clean all the welds out so it actually looks like one piece of metal.
Another good friend of ours, Pete, he has his own fabricating business. If ever I need a hand welding, a little bit of fabricating, I call him Pete, and usually he comes straight up. He's a fantastic welder, and probably about the only other person that we've found that we can trust.
They still think it's yours.
I don't know who I've known Matt and Danny for 20 years. I'm a TIG welder by trade, and I know good work when I see it. They do all the fabricating, and I just give them a hand welding things. And I worked on the tins, the guards, the fuel tank, give them a hand welding them up. Especially under Danny and Matt, it's got to be spot on, or it gets rejected. So, scrap metal and start again. So, there's countless hours getting those boys to be happy with their final product.
This bike can't hit the road without rear lights, but the boys have a trick up their sleeve.
The rear lights, tail lights, brake lights, indicators are all fitted and hidden inside that rear guard. What we're going to do here is we're going to incorporate the LED strip. There's 3 indicator globes on each end and the rest are brake and tail lights. So we've fabricated a piece of steel here, drilled out the holes. We'll trim this top part of the guard back. So then these LEDs will fit inside those nice and snug. Our panel, we'll incorporate the panel over the top and bottom to tie it all in, and then we'll make a perspex lens that will cover all of those globes.
When it's finished, it looks fantastic.
Now that the rear end's taking shape, it's time for the wheels to get the bling.
We use Huntingdale all the time. These guys know what they're doing. It's really easy to get it wrong. They do bike parts all the time.
All we're going to do is just clean them up, just take a little bit of the dullness away for them, make sure there's no polishing compound in them. We'll flow down through the copper jig and through those 3 contact points under there. This one, because it's a bigger diameter, it's a 21 inch, we'll wire this one up, we'll just wrap the copper wire around it instead of using the jig.
The McCullys have been very selective on the parts they want chromed for this bike. Its overall understated look will let these wheels be a real feature.
We cleaned them, we went through all the pre-treatment part of it. We've gone through the initial nickel plating to give it a nice shiny coating, and then we've gone through the 2 of the copper plating processes. And then that'll be followed up by a chrome plating process. That for nice, bright, shiny chrome. You should love those.
Chroming complete, and the wheels will be sent to McCully's.
Done.
Meanwhile, the front end has arrived from the USA.
Now that the front end's arrived, we can use the mock-up wheel from Dragway to set the front end up and get a good look at the bike, just so we can start visualising the front end, the guard, the handlebars, how they're going to look when they're built.
But the bars are Danny's next big job.
Very extreme bevel in, and lay a root weld first for the strength, and then afterwards I put a build-up weld so we can cosmetically take it back clean, because I want to get these chromed. Don't want any pinholes in it at all. Then the next tube goes in that's plug welded and will be seam welded in here, polished out. And the last bit there, that's what your grips and controls mount to. We'll plug weld that and I'll seam weld it around the front too.
Danny wanted the bars to be a work of art. Not only do they need to look good, where they sit for the riding position is equally as important.
The boys rang me and said they had something special for the bars, which I said, hey, go for it. And they said, but we're not going to go chrome. Had my heart set a bit on chrome bars, but if it's good, I don't care.
Does he know he's getting these bars? I know he knew he was getting something good.
Yeah, he knows the concept sort of, but we've gone a little bit more
out there.
Yeah, it's better than just a straight, because we set a drag style bar on it and he was happy with that. He's not going to expect this.
The bars are now well underway and the front end partly assembled. A couple more adjustments and it's time to start fitting together all the pieces.
On a project like that, I probably spend 70% of the time in the bike looking at the bike. Probably 30% is actually hands-on work.
This bike will be mocked up and stripped down constantly as new custom parts are designed and built.
I'm forever changing things. Like the concepts change in my head the further along I get along in a build. Now that upsets Matt a lot, but in my eyes I sort of say, hey, yeah, I'm in control here. It's my build, I'm doing it.
Now this Dyna is going to have air ride suspension. So to run air ride suspension you need a compressor. Now on these bikes it's a little bit hard to find places to hide the compressors because they're reasonable size. So the ideal spot for this compressor was to build a shroud at the front of the engine. It's the air compressor for the air ride system. We're going to mount this under the voltage regulator. We're going to panel in all of this section, build a little nose cone scoop with a grill, and as well as a feature, it will also be an icicle hiding spot for the air ride compressor. What we have here is an Arnott air ride suspension system. This will be fully compressed on the bikes at its park height. On the other side we'll mount a toggle switch, so when the bike is in operation ready to ride, that'll lift up to about 11.6 inches. It works in two ways. One thing, it hides the compressor, but it gives the bike a nice cool look, nice lines, just to fill that gap in between the down tubes and the front fender.
When I get to here, it'll be the same principle. We'll get the compressor in round it. That'll show and step out to around there. So from the bottom, we'll have it coming up and then having that section moulded into it back. So all this will be one piece.
It took a bit of work. We mucked around with cardboard, sheet metal, one design, two design, three designs. Finally, we pulled it off.
Hey, Paul from Dragway.
How you doing, mate?
Good, buddy. How you doing? How are you, bud?
Wheels, boys.
These rims have been a major part of this build. Let's hope they look the goods.
Perfect timing, mate. We're just going to put on this front end.
Really? Oh, yeah. When Paul from Dragway finally brought the wheels in, we opened up the box and, mate, it was awesome seeing these things. I mean, we first of all, we pictured them in a little bit of satin maybe, but once seeing that chrome, we knew that was it.
Beautiful, mate.
I probably said it 100 times, but I wanted these wheels to look like they were going fast, even when the bike was sitting still. And I do think these RF 300s pulled that off.
Good.
Next on McCully Customs, it's a stalemate on the front guard.
To me, it looked like something you'd stick on the front of a dirt bike.
You know what it is? You've never done anything like this. You've always done the heavy guards.
I haven't.
No, you haven't.
The swing arm is finished.
I personally think the swing arm on this bike is a work of art. Danny did a fantastic job on it. I even actually told him I was proud of him. I don't often tell him that, even though I do think it a lot. I don't pump his tyres up too much because...
And then, this bike comes out of the shed shining.
I saw Steve's face, smile ear to ear, his mates were giving him a thumbs up. It was happy people.
But it doesn't get very far. This was not what the boys had planned for the morning ride.
So as the police officer was going through everybody's licences and details, I've got Steve's number plate on the side trying to jam this thing in between the tyre and the rear guard.
That's on McCully Customs.